Hello friends, today we will going to discuss in a new topic with respect to research methodology, that is research problem. See, once we are knowing about what is research and from where it has come, why we are doing, what's its importance and everything we have came to know. Now we will see when we actually go for conducting a research, we have to go with certain problem which is called as a research problem. What are the things to be considered while selecting a research problem? He will be deal with in this presentation. Now we will see what is research problem. The research problem, according to Kerlinger, he says that the research problem is a problem, an interrogative or a probing statement wherein it will answer the relationship between two or more variables. That means it is a statement which is indicating the relationship between two or more variables. For example, there are several variables that we will cover in the next. So there are several variables. Once we are taking the how the knowledge of a farmer is increased, what is the reason behind that? That will be the another variable which is influencing on the problem knowledge of a farmer. That is how it is going to indicate the relationship between the two or more variables. In other way, the research problem could be defined as the statement about an area of concern, a condition to be improved, a difficulty to eliminate through proper investigation. That is nothing but research problem as itself indicates that it is a problem and we are conducting an investigation to find out the solution for that particular problem. That is what is the research problem. That means there is a problem and based on our research, we are coming out with the solution for that problem such that we can overcome that is called as a research problem. See, when we go for selection or a formulation of the research problem, what are the needs to be considered or what are the things to be considered? The first one is whenever you are going for selection or formulation of a research problem, you should selection of a field and a topic of research. That is nothing but on which area you want to do a work. For example, in a social science research, we may decide that we want to do a research on the gender empowerment or a woman empowerment. Or somebody may say that I want to do research on impact. Or somebody may say that I want to do research on adoption. That is a broad area or the topic on which we want to do a research. And the next thing is once the topic is selected or the field is selected, you have to formulate that problem or the research problem. For example, as I told, I want to do on a gender or a woman empowerment, then I should formulate my research problem on a specific area. On women empowerment, what I want to study, whether how much they are empowered with respect to entrepreneurial ability, how much they are empowered with respect to economical empowerment or economical activities. Like that, I have to formulate my research. And once I come out with that, I have to go for reviewing the existing literature. To strengthen my study or to give a particular path of my research, I must review some of the literature that will give me the broad idea or the road in which I have to move my investigation. So this is very essential that we have to review the existing literature. And the next comes is once based on my literature review or based on my problem and formulation, I have to formulate the hypothesis. The hypothesis is mainly the road or the objective through which my study has to move. Then you have to define the concepts and variables. That means what is the major concept of my research and what are all the variables I want to consider to go with my problem. For example, if it is on empowerment of a woman, I have to define what is empowerment according to my investigation. And what are all the variables with respect to empowerment, with respect to social aspect, or with respect to educationally, with respect to entrepreneurial, with respect to economical aspects, or maybe cosmopolitaness. Like that, I have to define certain variables for my study. Then you have to go for determining the research design. There are several research design which I have indicated in my social science research in a previous session. And based on that, I have to decide which research design I have to follow, and that will going to give you the outstretch, how my research has to carry out. That I have to be defined. Then once the research design is finalized, then the important thing is formulation of sample design. That means I am having a huge population. If it is a women empowerment, I am having a huge population of women and they are under the process of empowerment, then I have to select only the few sample for my study when I could not able to cover the whole population. That has to be defined while you go for selection and formulation of research problem. And the next comes is the developing the instrument of investigation. That is nothing but once you have come out with the research design and how I have to gather and the sample, now I should decide about how the instrument should be. That means whether I am going for a questionnaire method, whether I am going for a survey with the schedule, or whether I am following the PRA technique, or maybe focus group discussion, that I have to decide what are the instruments I am following to gather the data. So based on using my instrument or by using the instrument developed for data collection, I have to collect the data from the respondents. Once the data has come out, I have to write down that research data. That is nothing but tabulation of the data. See, we have collected the data that cannot be used for the statistical analysis. That has to be converted into a data that could be applied for statistical analysis. That has to be written. And once it is over, we have to go for analyzing this data by applying different statistical tools and interpreting the data based on the analysis. Once the interpretation has been done, we have to go for writing the thesis report that is based on the analysis and the interpretation or the result. We are writing the thesis or the report, and once it is over, then we will going to evaluate the problems which has been selected and what the hypothesis says, whether it is in line with the hypothesis, I am accepting it or rejecting it will be finalized. This is about the broad term, how you will going to select a research problem or formulation of the research problem. Once you have formulated, the important factor you have to consider while selecting the research problem is the guiding principles in selection and identification of the problem. The first principle is analyze what is known, including the historical records. Whenever I am going for the finding out the research problem, one must know that what are the things known to the people. The research problem is nothing but it is a unknown thing, and based on my investigation, I am becoming knowing about it. That means I am giving additional knowledge to the people. If that is the case, if I am doing the research on known things, then it is useless. So very important thing you have to analyze is what are the things is known by reviewing the historical record or the previous record or the previous studies which has been done. And you have to go for looking for the gaps or the deficiencies which is included in the previous studies, and that has to be acting as a source of the problem for us. There may be a several study on empowerment of women, but still there may be a gap or the darkness or the deficiencies which has been there in that study. That darkness or the deficiency has to be selected, and that acts as a gap, and this could be selected as a research problem. And watch for contradiction, that is in view of the scientist's point of controversies or intended conclusion. There may be, they says that by educating the woman we can able to empower. Some people may say that, and some people may say that if you make them economically strong, we can empower the woman in a society. There is a contradictory statement. If there is any contradiction, we can take these two aspects as for our research, and we can find out that which is correct and which is proved as correct, and that acts as a problem for my research. And next, you have to follow the clues and the suggestions obtained from the observer's reading. See, for example, whenever you review the literature, based on the research conducted by the previous scientists, they used to suggest that what will be the future line of work. So you have to concentrate on those clues or the suggestions given by the previous researcher, and that may act as a problem for you or acts as a basis for selecting a problem for your research. And next is your personal interest. On which area you want to do the work will act as a source of your research problem. And value of the topic. Always you have to select a topic which is having a value at the present context. That means whenever I am telling in the present context, we are suffering with COVID. So when we come to the agriculture field, now the important thing is how to keep the farmer empowered during the COVID period and how we can help them to market their produce to get the profitable income. That is the hot topic or value of the topic. If you do that, that will help you to give a important solution for the society in which they are suffering to get the solution. And next is the availability of the data. Whenever I am conducting the research, I must have certain basis for doing the research. If nothing is available to support my problem, then it is very difficult to justify my problem. So I must see that something should be available with respect to the problem which I have selected for my research. What are the criteria for selection of research problem? Some important criteria for selection of research problem is timeliness. Whenever you are selecting a problem, that should be timely. For example, present day context, I have told that the farmers are suffering with this COVID and they are finding very difficulty in marketing their produce. I have to conduct a research on that. Instead of that, if I go for selecting something which is on adoption or something which is not to the timely, that will not complete the or fulfill the gap which is very much essential at the particular period. And the next comes is it has to relate to the practicality as well as theoretical situation. Whenever I am selecting a problem and I am coming out with the solution, that should be practically applicable also. I may come out with the solution that may not be applicable in a practical way, then it will become a theory only, and that could not have a value of the research. So whenever you are conducting a research, you have to keep a criteria that it should have both practical and theoretical applicability. And the next comes is it should permit the generalization to the maximum extent possible. That means your research should have a general application that should be applicable to a huge number of population and large area. It should cover a large area. Otherwise, if it is specific for a particular farmer or a particular group of respondents, and if it is specific to a particular area, then your research could not be applicable for a large area. And it should help in developing a new techniques, concept and measurement. Whenever you are conducting a research, that has to help to develop a new techniques or the concept of measurement, and that will help us to improvise our research, and we can come out with a good result that helps us to solve a problem immediately. And the next one is it should allow to study the relationship of phenomena. Whenever we are conducting a research, we have to conduct in such a way that we have to find out the relationship between the different variables or the different phenomena. And always it should express the relationship between two or more variables. Whenever we are finding out the relationship between two or more variables, that needs to be expressed in a statistical way or in a theoretical way, that has to have acceptability in the practical way also. The problem should be stated clearly, unambiguous, implying the possibility of empirical testing. Whenever I am coming out with the problem, or if I want to study some problem, that should have a clear-cut information and should not be ambiguous. That means there should not be any conflict in that. And whenever I want to take a problem that could be studied or that could be tested, has to be taken for the study. You should not select a problem that could not be tested, then you cannot come out with the solution for the problem. And the next important thing you have to consider is the factors which has to be considered while selecting a research problem. According to M.H.Gopal, he has come out with certain factors like the practicability, which I have told you that whenever you are coming out with the research solution, that has to apply in a practical way. And urgency. Many times you have to conduct a research in such a way that has to have an urgent need, or that is very much required, or a thrust in the farmer's area, or it is very much required and it acts as a major problem for the farmers. Anticipation. Always you have to conduct a research with the anticipation that will going to solve the problem of the farmer in particular way. And the next one is the resources. Your research should be based on the resource available, maybe in terms of finance, maybe in terms of data, maybe in terms of sample. You have to consider that. And the next one is the availability of information. Whenever you are conducting a research, you must have a proper information for that to back up or to support or justify your findings. And the next one is specialization. Whenever you are selecting a research, it should be based on your specialization. That means if I am specialized in a communication, I will be expertise in that because my specialization in that, and I can able to find out the solution very efficiently and very effectively. So I have to select a research problem based on my specialization. And the equipments means the testing procedures, analytical procedures, and also the research design available. Based on that, I have to select a problem. Operational fund, very very essential. How much budget I am having, and based on that I have to decide area of my research, population, the criteria which I want to find out. Everything has to be finalized. Hazardous and hardship means if I conduct a research, how much difficulty I could able to face, or how much difficulty in carrying through that research, and whether I can able to complete in time such that it could be useful for the farmers. That has to be considered. And when you are going for statement of a research problem, you have to consider certain factor. First, we will know what is statement of research problem. The statement of research problem will going to provide the context for the research study and generates the questions which the researchers aims to answer. That is nothing but your problem. What you want to study and what is your problem, what is the solution you want to find out for the problems which is mentioned. That is what is nothing but a research statement. See, for example, now I want to conduct a study on socio-economic impact of the women because of empowerment. Then I want to study the impact in terms of social and economical. That is what is my question. And I am coming out with the answer that how much the social and economic status of a woman has been increased due to the empowerment. That is what will be the answer for that. That is nothing but a statement of research problem. What we can say it as a title of your research. The component of research statement includes the problem itself. That means you have to clearly indicate your problem in a contextual way such that why it is important has to be answered. Whenever I'm writing a title for my research or my thesis or my problem, that itself should answer what is my question and why it is important for me. And the next one is what are the method of solving the problem. It is often stated as a claim or working thesis. That is nothing but how you will go through with your problem. Your title has come and next comes is your objective. That is how I will go in, and the methodology you are going to follow. That is what is indicate how you are going to solve this problem with your findings. And the next comes is in a statement of problem is why you are conducting this problem research. That is nothing but the purpose for which that is I am conducting the research. That it has to be stated with the objectives, the scope of your project or your research. And what are the criteria for research problem statement? What are the criteria you have to consider while writing your research problem statement? The first one is the statement of problem should be clearly indicate what you are investigating. That means your title of your research should indicate what you want to investigate. If my title is to study about knowledge and perception of a farmer, I want to find out the knowledge and perception of the farmer. That is what is my investigation. And next comes is the actual statement should be in a declarative or in a question form. That means it should be like a question for me. That is what I want to find out through my statement of my research. And it should indicate the variables of interest and specific relationship between the variables that are to be studied. That means in your research, you have to find out that what are all your dependent variable and what are all your independent variable, how these independent variables are influencing on the dependent variable. That means the influence of two variables has to be studied. That has to be stated in your research statement. So these are the important criteria you have to follow whenever you are going for a research statement and the formulation of your research topic. I hope you will going to consider all these things while finalizing your research statement. Thank you.